for fast, cheap, and reliable Madden 21 Ultimate Team coins. Make sure you guys go check out my sponsor, Easy Mutt. Use code VENM at checkout for 5% off. Yo, what's good guys, Venom Fire here back with a video, and today I'm going to bring you guys Drini's Championship Gun Bunch offense. Now, he did win 3 belts, as you guys know. He won the 2 on the Madden Classic, Xbox, and PlayStation. Then he also won the Madden Challenge on the Xbox side, I believe. We're just going to be talking about the Madden Classic ones because that's where he is in the same offense, the Jets Gun Bunch. Now, in those, he also ran a lot of Gun Bunch tight ends, probably like a 55 to 45 type of ratio. So if you want me to talk about some of the stuff you ran out of Gun Bunch tight end, let me know down below in the comments. But just for now, we're going to run some of his Gun Bunch setups. And again, this is going to be these regs setups. I watched through those 2 games, got some nice setups for these. We're just going to hop straight into the audibles, taking a look at what we have. We're going to go with Mesh Post at X, Base, Jets Dig, and Flood. And these setups are really good because they can work in any game mode. These also could work in DC because the Packers offense doesn't really have much hot routing. Adams has slot or outside apprentice, but usually people run him in the slot anyway, so that's not too much of a factor. In addition to these 4 plays, I'm also going to have one setup out of verticals, one setup out of bunch trail, and one setup out of mesh. So we got a lot of versatility here, and obviously base is one of the main plays as well. But this could work in draft champs. You could run these in Ultimate Team. You could really run these in any game mode. I'm just going to start out with the Jets Dig play. Again, New York Jets offensive playbook allows you to audible from bunch to bunch tight end, stuff like that. Also, before we end the video, make sure you guys do go ahead hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. If you're enjoying the channel, you're enjoying the content that I bring you, go ahead, hit that sub button. It's free, and you can always unsubscribe at any time. We're going to be running the same old, audibling from zone to man on the defensive side of the ball. And here we are. Now, usually when I run these bunch videos, I like to have the bunch on the right, but for this particular one, the reason that I'm on the left side is so that the base is going to be handed off quicker. You'll see why once we hop into some of the halfback base type stuff. But we'll start out with this Jets Dig play. Pretty interesting, but we're not going to use it the way that we've typically ran this play before. The way he uses it with some unique setups. And again, the way that he runs bunch is not with a lot of passing. It's using the run. He passes when he needs to, but it's going to be a lot of base. He audible to bunch tight end, ran a lot of the stuff in there. So there wasn't too many bunch setups for me to get. There still is a good amount for you, and there will be a written version of this down below in the description. But again, we're going to talk about the base a lot. A lot of it is set up with that. But hopping into these setups, the first setup is just going to be very simple. All you're going to do is just slant RB, and that's going to be it. So you're going to have the slant. On the right-hand side, you have this nice little table route with Aaron Jones. You have the backside dig, obviously, and then you have this simple flat route and the hitch. Now, this play, all he did was snap the ball. He didn't use any motion, and he just snaps it. Now, this play is just overall pretty solid. It's just a kind of a basic play. The players that he was going up against, Sixth Sense and Spoto in the games that I watched, they're going to play a lot of versatility. Now, they were running 3-3-5 wide. I don't have that because I'm using the Panthers defense, but basically, they would run their coverage 2 different ways. They would go with something like this usually, where they have like one hook curl. This would be the user, and they run like a 5-man blitz. Or the other alternative would be to go with a double Mabel type setup, which we'll hop into later. But we'll just show something like this because I'll try and set up some of these realistic zone coverages that they actually ran. Now, again, taking a look at your reads, you have the table route wide open. That's something that you can kind of quick snap, air chuck up the field if you want to. In addition, we have the flat on the left side as well that you could potentially hit. Looking at your late reads, you see how that hitch does a good job of kind of pulling down zones. And depending on if he's double flatting, which I'll actually set up right here, a double flat type setup. Something like this is what I'm referring to with the double flat lingo. But if they do go with something like that, the hitch could open things up, or it could also pull things down, opening up the dig route or the slant route for you guys. Let's go to man coverage here just for one play out of this. And you'll see that it is still successful against man coverage, although the hitch kind of gets bodied and the flat are not super useful. But again, not a lot of man coverage that he faced because it was either regs or draft champions. So he didn't go up against man coverage a lot, and man coverage is becoming less and less popular by the day. But let's hop into the next Jets Dig setup. For this one, basically what he did was he went ahead through our beyond and out route. He also smart routed that out route. He streaked A, and that was pretty much it. So here's a look at the setup. Again, just streak A, put RB on an out route. It's a similar to flood play. The reason that you couldn't just realistically run the setup out of flood is just because we wanted this table route, and also this little flat route is not terrible as well. For this one, you could use motion. I don't know if he did. I can't remember. I don't think he did, but just a solid little route combination. Very good against zone coverage. Very good against a double flat. The streak's going to stretch out the zones both vertically and potentially to that left-hand side, and it could definitely open things up. So all you're doing is streaking A, you're putting RB on an out route, and then you're smart routing it. So again, a lot of these setups are nice and quick snap setups because you kind of want to disguise it as base. Again, we'll talk about base a lot because that was kind of the focal point of his offense, base and inside zone. But really, it's going to be difficult because they don't know if you're running or passing, and then you snap the ball off quick. Even if they were playing pass defense, they might not get their adjustments off, things of that nature. So again, here's a look at the setup. Even if I audible to man coverage, this should be pretty decent. You have both out routes that could get open. Even Y potentially gets open on a quick snap and throw where you can air truck up the field. So it does give you some nice solid options. Overall, let's move into our next play, which will be mesh post. Now with mesh post, again, we have two setups for you, and I also have 2 out of flood, and then it's 1 out of everything else. For this mesh post setup, what you're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and streak RB, and then I like to slant B. We're going to block Y here, and then we're just going to motion Devontae Adams over. So we're going to leave the flat here. We're just going to kind of motion over a streak. Now I believe when he ran the setup, he let Adams stop and sit right here. And then he snapped him. This was actually a play where he caught 6th Sense, I believe, off sides. It was either him or Spoto. But it's a pretty unique setup. You don't see too many concepts like this one out of a play like mesh post. It's pretty unique, especially against zone coverage. You can just get streak. Pretty good to stretch the field vertically. You see I can check down to the flat. I can hit that slant on a low ball with B, and it also spaces the field a little bit more. This year, if I were to go with like a motion over slant to post combo, you can really use those pretty decently effectively. So when I put the slant on the outside guy, it's going to basically just space the field a little bit better and gives you some more options as far as throwing the slant late and also getting that post off quicker. Now that was a terrible read right there. But usually you're going to expect it, again, that double flat look. We'll set that up briefly, just like so. And again, this isn't too many hot routes either. It's really just 2, 3 if you block your running back. And I'm in the wrong play here. But it's relatively simple stuff. Again, quick motions. And we'll disguise the base with these types of motions as well. So that could be beneficial and helpful to your offense in addition to just running the stock plays. Here's the double flat look. You see how I can hit Valdez-Scantling late, but even if his user is defending that, he's not going to have enough time to user over the slant as well. So let's move into our second setup out of mesh post. For this one, I'm going to go actually to that RB slant concept. It's not terrible, but again, it's going to be a little bit better against double flat, even if it's man coverage, which I'll hop into now. Basically, the setup is just going to be this. You're actually going to block your running back, you're going to out B, slant RB, and just motion him across. Overall, just basic stuff. Again, not too many hot routes. Simple, good against man. It's going to be good against zone as well. This should be a setup that you've seen before. It's definitely one that I have talked about before, but one more time, slant RB, block A, out B, and then just go ahead and motion him across just like so. If it's cover 3, you can usually hit the running back there with the out route pulling the zones to the sideline, or you could, of course, hit the post over the top or the slant. But let's move into the main play in the entire offense, which is the halfback base. This halfback base is really solid. Now, I do think it's a little bit better in draft champs modes. It's a little bit better in regs, but it still can be very effective in Ultimate Team. I ran this in Ultimate Team, and I have had success. It's a very patient style of running, and you want to use some motion to disguise it. Now, typically when people run base, when he ran the halfback base play, you don't just want to come out on the field and snap the ball. You want a fake hot route. So I'm going to fake put X on an out route now because I'm in prax mode. Rodgers doesn't get the animation where he's, pointing to the left or whatever. But that's something typically you do want to do. And just kind of disguise it a little bit. Go to the line for 5-6 seconds maybe. You make some hot routes. And then you can some motion. So I'm going to motion this receiver out. I'm going to snap it. and then you see what I'm going to do with the base. Now, the way that this is run against this particular defense is not the best, but usually when you're running base, you kind of want to stop and go like this and let the blocks develop well. Now, again, I wish I had 3-3-5 wide. I probably should have ran against a different team that would allow me to do that a little bit better, but again, you're just going to run a patient. The blocks are not developing good at all right now, but again, that's fine. And talking about some more stuff with the motion, you can also motion guys like Adams over. Just run this base. Boom, I'm going to wait, and then I can hit the hole. That's the type of animation that you want. So you see, even though you might think, why are you motioning receiver to the right to run it to the left? For some reason, just these weird motions can be beneficial to you. As you saw, it resulted in a touchdown. I could also go with that notion with motioning MVS over to that right side, wait for it, and then I can hit the hole to the left maybe. So the motion can be beneficial even if it's to the weak side of the field. Definitely don't sleep on this base. And again, he ran this a lot, almost even 1 out of 2 plays. So for every passing play, he was basically giving this base an opportunity to break free. You see how it can get blown up. It's very difficult to blow this up out of 3-3-5 wide or any traditional gap shoot defense. So just to let you know, even though this kind of weird like nickel defense that I'm in now is honestly not terrible against it, these gap shoot defenses do not work because the guard pulls, you can kind of stop and go and wait for him to develop, and you end up picking 7, 8 yards. Boom, you break one for 20 yards. So it's very successful in that standpoint. But let's move into our next passing play, which is going to be flood. With flood, we got a couple of unique setups again. For this first setup, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and actually max protect my offense. So this would be a scenario where I'm expecting people to send heat. I'm going to go with something like this. Again, it's what you would expect at 3-3-5 wide. They blitz just everybody on the line of scrimmage, and they have their user in that traditional kind of standpoint. What we're going to do here is simple. We're just going to max protect, and we're going to throw X on a little baby out route. So we're going to put him on a baby out route. We're going to motion him outside. It's just a very simple read. Now, it honestly does kind of depend on the coverage. You'll see in a little, I do think that I can get this to work a little bit better here, or a little bit better there. You're just going to motion him outside. You can kind of wait for him to get snapped, and there you see I can either throw it, which I actually completed there. There's times where I have seen that curl flat just not follow the out route. I'm not sure why. Maybe I'm motioning him out a little bit too far here. I guess that could be the issue, but like sometimes I'll motion him out here. Either that curl flat's going to follow him or not. It depends on, again, usually this is better if they send heat or run just a stock coverage. If they do double flat, this isn't going to be the best because it's going to be a relatively easy user job. But if they do double flat, your main read is going to be right there with Adams lowballing it. If it's just their user and they're running like a send 5 type of defense, then you have options. Then you can go ahead. Maybe you fake throwing it to that side. Boom, I fake that. I can hit B in the middle of the field. So it's just a solid max protect play. I don't see too many people run flood this way, and it is pretty successful. Moving on to our second setup, what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead flat X. I'm going to option Y. I'm actually going to smoke screen B, and I'm going to go ahead block my tight end. So here's a look at the setup. This is one that he ran like a 4th and inches, I think, in that Spoto game. But it's just a nice little spacing concept. Again, this is going to be better against double flat style of defenses or double Mabel style of defenses, something like this. It's going to be a little bit more successful against those because the option route's going to be a little bit more open. If they play a single flat coverage and they're playing over the top, you could hit Tavon Austin. This is also good against man coverage, which was actually the play call from whoever it was against on defense. But you see, Y's open, RB is open. We just have a couple of routes in the flats to kind of hold down zones, although it wouldn't really affect it in a double Mabel scenario. But overall, it is successful. If I do go to 2-man under here, you'll see we have 2 reads once again. He's not going to be able to use both of them really. And with a good enough running back here, as I'm actually in the wrong play there, but you see how Aaron Jones should get some good separation. As long as you have decent route running, you should beat him in man-to-man coverage. One more time, here is a look at your coverage or your play. Again, this is one you can kind of get off relatively quickly here. I could have almost thrown X or RB there, especially with Gunslinger. But overall, a solid route combo. Let's move into our last 3 plays. Now I'm going to go ahead reset my audibles just so I can come out in all 3 of them. Now, if you guys do want to know how to get that little motioned out wheel route where you're able to snap it before you get set, it's just going to allow you to vertically stretch the field on the outside a little bit better than snapping him from the slot or just the complete outside. The way to do that is to just completely motion him over to the right side. You have to wait for him to get set. Then you have to motion him over to the left, and then you have to motion over to the left again to get him outside. So it is a lot of work, and it is also kind of a tell when you do that, but it is useful in my opinion. You motion him back out. All right, let's just scratch that. Anyways, here we are coming out in our next 3 passing plays. I only have one setup for each one, but the plays are going to be verticals, mesh, and bunch trail. I have one setup once again for both of them, or all of them, but I'm going to start out with this verticals play. With verticals, what you're going to do is just streak A. We're going to block our running back, and we're just going to drag B. Relatively simple setup. Now, verticals, you can't really motion snap that wheel route anymore, which could be helpful. I think there actually is a way to do it. Not sure if it will work in practice mode though, but I think you just snapped it kind of like this. Pretty solid setup, not terrible. You have the wheel route, you have the drag, you have this deep crosser with Davante Adams that does beat man coverage decently well. You see how the mid-read kind of matched onto the crosser, was able to beat him there in a stock cover 2. If we middle third here, you will see that it should still work as well, and we'll be able to get over the top a little bit better. But all you're doing is streaking your tight end, blocking your running back, dragging B. Simple stuff there. It's a good way to kind of space the field. Davante Adams runs that route really quickly and really effectively, although we did get shedded there. But overall, it's just a nice setup to run. Again, some casual stuff. You're mixing in new setups. A lot of people, when they see bunch, they're expecting Z-spot. They're expecting bench pivot. A lot of those stuff, smash return. So when you're able to mix in like stuff verticals, no one sees that too much. Mesh, kind of a unique play as well. Here you see you can check down to the drag late. If depending on the coverage, you could also hit that wheel route. You have the tight end seam you might be able to hit. And again, that deep crosser as a kind of a last resort. Let's move into our next play, which is going to be bunch trail. For this play, we're going to utilize the deep post a little bit. But we are going to create a flood concept out of the bunch side. What I'm going to do is smart route B. I'm going to go ahead, option Y. I'm going to block my tight end, flat X, and then I'm going to put RB on an out route, and I'm going to smart route that out route. So it's going to look like this. Nice little flood concept on the left-hand side. On this right side, we just have a little option to post, deep post combo. So if it is a stock cover 2, you could easily split the middle of the field like that. You see how we had a mid-read on the field. He didn't even follow it super deep up. He was kind of distracted by some of the routes on that left side. Again, smart out B, option Y, out RB, smart out him, flat X, block your tight end. Again, you can just snap the ball. Even against cover 2, you see how this out route just almost beats every single coverage in the game. Really difficult to defend that. I think vert hook, even a vert hook from like a slot cornerback doesn't defend it. So it's very difficult to stop that. So that's why we go to it out of Jets dig. We run an actual flood play, and then you can go to it out of bunch trail. One more time, here's a look at our setup on this right-hand side. Again, you have a nice little high-low read. I can easily check down to Y, and that deep post is going to pull up zones, but it still is open as well. Anyways, let's move into our last play, which is going to be mesh. With this play, you're going to go ahead, smart out X. We're going to drag RB, streak A, curl B, and block your running back. So here's a look at our setup. What I'm going to do is motion Davante over. When Drini did run this setup, I think it was in the red zone. Basically, what he did is he just waited for Adams to get set, and then he snapped the ball. Overall, it's a pretty solid setup. This corner out is pretty unique, and especially when we haven't really gone to corner outs at all in this entire video. You can just mix it in kind of once, and you can catch people off guard. Now, we did go to corner outs out of that bunch tight end play, but it is still an effective route combination, especially out of bunch, because no one's not necessarily expecting out of bunch when you're going with different type of setups. Depending on the coverage, that curl route can be open, but mainly it is just a placeholder. If it is man coverage, the curl route should realistically get you just a little bit of separation, I would assume. Don't quote me on that though, but again, you're just smart routing X. You're going to go ahead, streak A, curl B, and drag RB, just motion them across. Even against man coverage, I can kind of wait for Adams to get set. I'm not too worried about it, but he did actually get jammed really well. There you see the curl route, able to get open, just low ball it, and aggressive catch. But overall, it's going to do for the offense. Again, let me know if you want to see the bunch tight end version. But that's going to do for the video. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more, and peace. I'm out of here.